Hi everyone. So I just wanted to talk to you about how to cover boards when you're making covers for a book. So in the last video I showed you this small pocket book that I made from single sheets of just regular copy paper. So what I want to do now is I want to make a cover for this so that it'll be covered and look like a real book. So I measured out all of the sizes of the book, and I cut two covers out of some scrap mat board. So the book is slightly smaller than the cover. The book, again, is a regular sheet of copy paper folded in half. So I wound up cutting the covers 4.5 inches by 5 3/4 inches, and you'll see it's just slightly bigger than the actual book itself, and you want that in order to protect what's inside. Most hardbound books or books that have a hard cover, the cover is slightly bigger than the pages inside, and that's to protect the book if it sits on a shelf, or in our case, just so that it doesn't get destroyed. So I cut two pieces of scrap mat board, again 4.5 by 5.75 or 5 3/4, and I started gluing them down to just some scrapbook paper that I had to cover these with. So here's the first one. So all I'm doing is I'm taking, and it doesn't matter which side you glue down, I'm taking the scrap mat board, I'm covering it with a good size or a good amount of glue stick without getting too crazy. Okay, and I'm going to eyeball this. If you're really intense about it and you want to measure it, you're going to leave an equal amount of paper around the whole thing. Now I cut my boards, I cut the paper for the boards about an inch bigger than the actual size of the boards, so that I would have this 1/2 inch border all the way around it. And you want to do that so that when you fold over the paper, you have a nice edge and a nice ending, and it's easy enough to fold. You could have more than this, but you don't need to have that. Okay? Now, the trick to getting pretty covers and to have them mitered and looking nice is something I learned a long time ago when I took classes at the Center for Book Arts. So what I'm doing is I'm taking another piece of that scrap mat board, just that I cut off when I cut up these pieces. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold it up against the side or the corner, and I'm going to zoom in a little bit. Let's hope it focuses. Focus. Maybe not. Okay. So I'm going to hold it right up against the side like that. There we go, semi-focusing. All right, I'm gonna zoom back out. There we go. Okay, so I'm holding it at a 45-degree angle to the side, and I'm going to take just a pencil, and on the outside of the board, I'm going to draw a line. Okay? There's the line. So I'm gonna do this to all 4 corners. Now, the idea behind this is I'm drawing the line that I'm going to cut the paper off at the thickness of the mat board that it's going to be covering, so that when I cut this paper off, it's not completely at the edge, because that would leave the edge exposed. But I'm using the thickness, which in this case is probably like 1/16 of an inch, of the mat board, and I'm measuring it by holding it up against the side and cutting that much away from the edge, so that when I cut these, and I know some of my angles are not perfectly 45 degrees, but it'll work. When I cut this, the edge of the, still not focusing, sorry guys, the edge has a little bit of paper near it. Okay, now I'll finish this one all the way through so you can see. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start to fold the paper without gluing it yet, just so that I get a little bit of a crease over it. You could use a bone folder at this point to help with the creasing. Now I'm going to apply, let me get a piece of scrap paper to do this on. Now I'm going to apply glue to this edge here, and I'm going to fold the board up to really make a nice crease, and then I'm going to press down that glue side. And if you have a bone folder or a popsicle stick, whatever you're using, you can use that to really help get the glue and paper to stick. Now I'm going to do it on the opposite side. Kind of like stretching a canvas, you want to do opposite sides. So I'm going to do it on the opposite side. And same thing, I'm going to fold it up using the weight of the board to help crease that over. Take my bone folder, really get a nice crease there, and glue that down. Now, if you look closely, you'll see that it's overlapping slightly just by the edge. I'm going to take both of my fingers and I'm going to just slightly push at the edges. And what's going to happen is the edge of the paper is going to fold in. And I'll take a picture of this and post it in the video so that you can see it up close. The edge of the paper is going to fold in, and it's going to cover the tiniest part of the corner over here, so that when I glue and fold this over, it miters perfectly, okay? And now I'm going to apply the glue to the opposite sides of the remaining one, making sure that those little edges stay tucked in. And you could even use the edge of your bone folder to do that, or just use the tip of your finger. And again, I'm going to use the weight of the board to fold that over. And then on the other side, again, making sure my edges are folded in. Glue, weight of the board. So here's this one all finished and nicely mitered corners. And I'm going to go ahead and do this one. I've drawn the lines already. And again, I'm going to clip, cutting off just that triangle. And I've had people who've said to me, could you not just, fold the corners of the paper in? You could do that, but it makes it a little bulkier. And why would you want bulk at the edge of your board? So again, I'm going to go over here, a little bit of glue, take the board, push down like that, get that all nicely folded in there. This bone folder that I'm using is a Teflon bone folder, so no glue sticks to it, which is kind of nice, because I know my old bone folders that were just made out of plastic, the glue had a tendency to stick to them and they would get real dark and dirty looking, and eventually I'd have to scrub it down. But if you're using a popsicle stick too, you wouldn't have to worry about it. You just throw it out and get a new one. Okay, so I did my opposite corners. I'm just gonna lightly push on the edges to get them in. So again, I'm just holding it right here, pushing slightly. See, I'm just angling my fingers in and making sure that little fold happens in there, and then applying glue. Fold it over. And this will assure you perfect mitered corners every time, no matter what. I use this whenever I cover boards, whether it's for simple books like this, or even when I'm doing more complicated case-bound books. I will always use this particular method. So there you go. There are my two covers ready. I'm going to get this out of the way. And all I would do now is take the book part of it, the book block, the text block, which in this case is our little folded pockets, and I would put glue all over this part here, lay it down onto the cover, cover this part with glue here, add the second cover on, and I'll have my book. All right, so that's how you cover boards. I'll see you guys soon.